For the second time in this year's competition, Argyle travel to Bristol Rovers today with the objective of making it into the quarter-finals of the Virtue Trophy. Both Argyle and Rovers come into tonight having won their last match 3-0. There is a division between them, and both have recently put a gap between themselves and their respective relegation zones. But today is all about knockout football. 3 wins from Wembley. Hello, good evening. I am Charlie Price, and this is Match Day Live from Argyle TV. Almost 3 years on from the last time that Argyle travelled to the Memorial Stadium for a knockout game. They are back again, looking to make it to the quarterfinals for the second time in the past 4 seasons. Now, with no game on the weekend, the Argyle players have had a bit of a break. 9 days since their last game. It was after a busy Christmas and New Year period. A run of games which yielded 4 wins from the 7 games played. And Bristol Rovers, well, they also are on a little bit of a hot streak. They won their first game in 8 weeks last Sunday. Well, they haven't won at home since they beat Argyle 1-0. Back a couple of months ago in the final group stage of the Virtue Trophy. They have a new manager in Steve Evans and maybe some newfound belief as well. It should be an intriguing game in store, and of course it's knockout football, so it has to end tonight. Now let's look at the 2 teams, and we will start, as we always do, with Argyle. Of course, Ronan Curtis signed last week from Port Vale, and he is thrust straight in to Argyle's starting 11. He is one of 6 changes from the 3-0 win against Burton 9 days ago. Luca Ashby-Hammond comes in for Connor Hazard in goal. Matthias Ross and Matti Soranola replace Julio Pleguezuelo and Brendan Galloway in the defence. Wiradou gets a start, and Caleb Watts in from the beginning for the first time since that game against Luton, in which he picked up his injury. He partners Laurent Talai up front, and of course it was Laurent Talai's goal right at the death against Leyton Orient that got Argyle into this position tonight. There is a spot on the bench for youngster Tegan Finn as well. So we're expecting a 4-4-2 from Argyle, as we've seen over the last few matches. Malachi Boateng continuing his running as playing in every single game, bar 1 so far this season. But eyes will be on Argyle's number 28, Ronan Curtis. What can he do in an Argyle shirt? He's been proficient against Argyle in the past, but now he is an Argyle player. How can he help this side? And just a quick one on the fact that Ronan Curtis can play. There was a rule change this season which enabled players to basically play for 2 clubs in every competition. So we obviously see it in the league. We had it earlier on in the Carabao Cup with Alex Mitchell, who'd already played for Charlton in the Carabao Cup, but he was able to play for Argyle too. Similarly, Ronan Curtis has played for Port Vale in the Virtue Trophy, but he is allowed to play for Argyle tonight. Let's have a look at the Bristol Rovers team, shall we? They also, as mentioned, won 3-0 9 days ago. That was away to Shrewsbury. Steve Evans has made a couple of changes from the team that won that day. Taylor Moore comes in the heart of the defence. And Isaac Hutchinson, who's been out on loan at Cheltenham Town, comes straight back into the starting lineup for Cotterill, who's gone back to Swansea. No promise on Cherry still. The one to look out for, though, from an Argyle perspective, Fabrizio Cavan. He got a hat-trick in that last game against Shrewsbury. He's their top scorer, 12 goals in all. Definitely one that will be causing Argyle some problems, that is for sure. They haven't named a full bench, incidentally, but they do have 2 new signings on it. Ryan de Havilland signed permanently from Peterborough, and Kofi Balmer, who's on loan from Motherwell. Both of those waiting in the wings. And what I will say is if Kofi Balmer comes on, just watch out for his long throw. He's probably one of the longest that I have seen. Right, it has been a 9-day gap, as we've mentioned, for Argyle. A good time to recover after that busy period over the Christmas and New Year time. But how have the players used that 9-day gap? Well, Tom Cleverley spoke to me about what has been going on. Gaffer, we've had a bit of a break since the last game. What have we done with it?
So I've give the players 2 or 3 days off after the Burton performance. I felt like I deserved that. We played 4 games in 9 days, hectic festive schedule, so it was always planned to give the players a little period of time off. We were back in at the back end of last week for training, and then restarting this week with an exciting game for us all that we're looking forward to. We're taking very seriously, and we're prepared to do what it takes to win the game.
Yeah, it's a serious end of the competition as well, isn't it? If you look at it, win this, you're in the quarter-finals. You're just a few wins away from potentially playing at Wembley and getting to a final. No matter how people talk about the competition, when you get to this stage of any cup, you want to go on and win it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been our mindset throughout the whole of this competition. I'm someone who, yes, the league is our priority, and it is every club's priority, and none of us are satisfied of where we sit in that. Yes, we're improving, and we have to keep on developing and going up the table. But I think this competition, and any competition getting into the later rounds, can galvanise a squad, a club, confidence, and I think we've used this competition well to do that. But now it's one game at a time. We know the challenge of facing Steve's team. His teams are always really hard to beat and well set up, and tomorrow will be no different. So we're going to have to be at our best to get the result that we want.
Yeah, the Virtue Trophy has definitely been good for Argyle this season. It's started a couple of runs, as mentioned there, been able to use some younger players, and certainly in the kind of fact of Laurent Talai, he's got 3 goals in the competition. He got his first 2 goals for Argyle against Cheltenham in the first game of the Virtue Trophy. So it's definitely been profitable for Argyle in many ways. And obviously, if they were to win today and make it to the last 8, it will just be a couple of wins away from potentially another Wembley visit for Argyle. Not getting ahead of ourselves just yet, though. Another team that we're wanting to get there and also trying to get to the quarterfinals is Bristol Rovers, the hosts. As I mentioned, they got a great victory in their last game, which was 2 Sundays ago, 3-0 away against Shrewsbury. Steve Evans, that was his first win since he came in as head coach. He's actually done pretty well since he's been in charge. 4 points picked up from the 3 games that he has managed so far. And like Argyle, priority will be on the league. They are in a bit of a relegation scrap. However, I am sure that he'll be wanting to keep this newfound momentum going.
Plymouth on Tuesday, will you pick a slightly different team than maybe you would have if you had had a game on Saturday? Do you think your players could use the game time?
Well, it'll certainly be different to Shrewsbury. So it'll be a different team, maybe a different shape. We've worked on a couple of alternatives, so we've had a week to do that, obviously, with a no game at the weekend. But, we were back in, the boys were in on Sunday again and Monday, and so they're looking at spending more time than the cat, if they use what's cat as an expression. But I think they're thoroughly enjoying it. They're certainly learning from it. And we know that whatever team Plymouth pick, it's a group that's blessed with top-end League One players and Championship players. That's the size of the model of the club. And so we're going to try and compete to progress in the tournament. But you're right to say that the most important one would be Colchester. But the real important one is always the next one. So that's Plymouth Argyle.
You said maybe different shapes. Are you going to try experimenting on Tuesday night?
Yeah, there may be 1 or 2 things we try. We're still... I'm just going to sit down now and have a chat with the senior staff, the medical staff, and firm the numbers up, and then I'll make the decision on the shape and the team. But we've worked on both that I'm thinking of.
If I never would have asked you this on the day you joined about taking Bristol Rovers to Wembley, because the priority is the league, but you have managed at Wembley, and it is a realistic proposition, isn't it? A Wembley final if you do well in this competition.
Well, to get to Wembley, we have to win tomorrow, don't we? That's just a fact. And it's a competition that if we do well tomorrow night, we could be in the last 8. So all of a sudden you're thinking Wembley doesn't seem so far away. And being a head coach that wins at Wembley, I quite like to go back.
Yeah, it's the absolute joy of this competition, isn't it? The fact that clubs may well be struggling at the foot of the EFL, like Bristol Rovers have been so far this season, and yet they are still with a chance of potentially doing something pretty special and getting to Wembley. They have to get past Argyle, of course, to do that. And this game is one of those fixtures that throws up some pretty special matches. It's the most played game in Plymouth Argyle's history. Today is the 154th meeting between the two sides. And although Argyle have had the better of it recently, the memories of that last-minute winner by Camille Comte a couple of months ago may well be fresh in the minds. Winner takes it all then today. Extra time and penalties potentially on the way. In fact, actually, I think it goes straight to penalties, so it would be just penalties. It has to be settled today. A spot in the last 8 is what is up for grabs. We are done with the pre-match show. The action on its way next. Chris Hargreaves and Rob McNichol are in position at the Memorial Ground. If you haven't got your match passes yet, go and get them now. They can be bought on our website, pafc.co.uk. Just hover over the Argyle TV tab. But Argyle's trip to Bristol Rovers is up next.